All right, good afternoon, good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Probably like a lot of people, I'm just now hearing about an online group called Q-Anon. Anonymous, the letter Q. And how, this group is becoming, more and more prominent in some of President Trump's rallies and things. I'm hearing about this mostly, they're getting attention due to the mainstream media giving them attention, trying to discredit them. But the fact of the matter is, I would have never heard of them if not for, all of the media, bashing them, and doing my own research. I mean, it might be a little bit crass to say this, but if the media is against someone, that's enough of a reason to be for them. Of course, I tread with care, and I don't rush right into accepting a group like this as being good. But all this being said, the very fact that the mainstream media hates them so much and is going out of their way to discredit this group, it seems to me that is a good reason to at least come to defend them to some point. You can defend someone without agreeing with them 100%. My friend Rabbi Meza, I defend him without agreeing with him 100%. But the example I was thinking of is how Rabbi Meza defends what's that guy's name? Yossi Mizrahi, who many people find to be indefensible. And he says, he doesn't agree with everything that Mizrahi teaches. But that being said, he still, comes to his defense, and so too, I haven't seen anything problematic so far with what little research I've done into this group, QAnon. I don't know anything about them really, more than just basic things. But nothing I've heard from them seems to be offensive to me at all. I watched a video that they produced. It was somewhat simplistic, but on the other hand, again, everything they're saying are good things. I think anybody would want to agree with. Whether, question whether they're true or not, I guess that could be up to debate. But for the most part, most of these things have pretty much been proven. And the thing is, the way that people rush to say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, this and that. I mean, the term conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorist has pretty much lost all meaning. I mean, when you see that, Wikipedia labels Mark Levin as a conspiracy theorist when he's a great scholar, a legal expert, he's, one of the great intellects of America today, whether on the right or on the left. He happens to be on the right, and yet he's labeled by wackos as, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Same thing. Glenn Beck might not be the intellectual that Mark Levin is. He certainly is. I would consider him a spiritual giant, as well as a man who strives for scholarship. I consider him to be somewhat like a prophetic voice in the wilderness today, Glenn Beck. He's a very special person. And again, he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's changed his tune. Maybe earlier in his career, he was more along the lines of a conspiracy theorist. He's apologized for certain things that I wouldn't have apologized for. When he attacked the so-called Reform Judaism, and then he apologized. I don't know how much, have they really deserved the apology that he gave? Meaning, he accused them of being politically weaponizing religion, and 99% of Reform Jews politically weaponize their religion. Um, I know some people who, just because that's how they grew up, they attend or used to attend Reform temples, or they still might identify their lifestyle as Reform, but as time goes on, they realize that the place where they belong is an Orthodox synagogue, even if they're not going to live an Orthodox or Orthoprax lifestyle, but the ideology of Orthodoxy is much more appealing than the ideology of Reform to many, fine, upstanding people that I know. And so therefore, to those people, maybe, they might deserve an apology, but those people aren't really Reformed. They're really Orthodox, because Orthodoxy is a question of doctrine and not practice, and that's the difference between Orthodoxy and Orthopraxy. And Reform is an ideology that says that there is no proper doctrine, that it's up to you. How do you want to choose? It's whatever you want, and in its ideal, all right, certain people might be attracted to that until they find out that the hierarchy of Reform says, no, you are, you're persona non grata if you hold conservative views. In both Reform and conservative Judaism, you become somewhat of a persona non grata. Why do these people, claim to be liberal when there's nothing liberal about them? They're closed-minded to any view other than their own. And that's the major problem of Reform. And so, do they really deserve the apology that Glenn Beck offered them? I mean, he's a mensch, and that's why he apologized. But maybe it's hurtful to compare them to, Al Qaeda or something like, ISIS or whatever. I don't know at the time which one he was comparing them to. But the fact of the matter is, in essence, it's the same thing being used in a different way. Yeah, obviously they're not Al Qaeda in the fact that they're not murderers. They're not, at least that's one of the 10 Commandments. They accept. But although when it comes to unborn babies, maybe there could be an argument that they are murderers. But again, it's neither here nor there. But then there's the media. Media's, obsession with this Q-Anon, that a whole bunch of media outlets have come to attack Q-Anon. Again, I don't know that much about Q-Anon. I watched the video that they put that Q-Anon produced, or it's said in the name of Q-Anon. There's no obvious structure. The theory is that there is a person, Q, who is anonymous. Is this actually one person? Is it several people? What exactly is going on here? We can put that aside for now. But this video that I watched, first of all, was against racism, was against Islamophobia, was against even, the split up between left and right in America. It was a message of unity and peace. Why would anybody oppose a message of unity and peace? Unless you're a Nazi. Or unless you're indeed the people that are being branded as this. What's going on? Really, the media is feeling they're losing their control. I tweeted recently, that you hear people, extreme anti-religious people claim that freedom of religion means freedom from religion. And of course it doesn't mean that. I mean, in the context of what the Constitution is all about, freedom of religion, all right, there are two clauses which are essentially the same thing. One is that Congress will not make any laws, impeding the free practice of religion, so that's freedom of religion. And one is the Establishment Clause, which some people claim the freedom from religion. The Establishment Clause, all that means is to say that there wouldn't be one particular denomination that is held superior to all other denominations. That doesn't mean that all denominations have to be equal. And it certainly doesn't mean that atheism is allowed to be the official denomination of the country. Because even though atheism might not be a religion, although certain forms of atheism are religious, it is a religious view. And so too, just as a person has protection to allow to be an atheist in America, so too they are protected. And the reason why they're protected to be an atheist is because America is a Christian country. That's the same reason why we're protected to be Jewish here, as opposed to the atheist countries, the Soviet Union. They attacked the Jews. In certain Muslim countries, the ones that were more Salafi type, also attacked Jews and Christians, as opposed to the more moderate, which is really the old-fashioned Muslim way. They embrace Jews and Christians as people of the book. In a certain sense, the more radical forms of Islam, even though they're more maybe text-based, are newer forms of Islam, historically speaking. The earlier ways of Islamic society were, for the most part, more tolerant of other religions, but still, that being said, it's not a comparison between Islamic culture and certain. Again, there were also Christian cultures that forced conversions. That whether it was Catholic churches attacks on Jews in Catholic countries and the Inquisition, the expulsions, whether it was Eastern Orthodoxy attacking Jews in Russia, or whether it was Luther, his words that were an inspiration for many of Hitler's actions. Those were aberrations, I would say, as all of those denominations attest today. They all want to wash away the stain of their past and regret and are ashamed of that aspect of their past. And deserve to be forgiven for those aspects of their past. Because that's the past. And these are our friends now. And there's no reason for us to be wary and to be worried, and I would say the same thing, all the more so for missionary groups that seek to share their faith, but not forced by government fiat. Well, that's because they believe their religion to be true, and they love their religion, they want to share it. And that's what we should be doing too. We shouldn't be hoarding our religion to ourselves if we love our religion, unless, unfortunately, a lot of Jews don't really love their religion, and that's wrong. They should learn to love their religion, or probably find another religion, to be honest. I'm not one of these people who feels that everyone, just because you're born Jewish, I have to force you to be Jewish. As I can't directly be involved in something sinful. I'm not going to officiate a marriage between a Jew and a non-Jew. But the fact of the matter is, intermarriage is really a blessing because it weeds out the bad Jews. We don't, I mean, I had someone contact me recently, because I do weddings for non-Jewish couples and I do weddings for Jewish couples, of course, as a rabbi. That could go without saying, although a lot of rabbis don't like to do weddings. And I don't understand, same thing. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. Rabbis who don't want to do conversions either. I mean, this is part of your job. You're a rav. This is part of your responsibility in being in the rabbinate. But, all right, we'll put that aside. Forget about that aspect. All right, but obviously I'm an Orthodox rabbi. I'm not going to do intermarriage. That should go without saying. So someone called me recently, said, they're looking for someone to fit interfaith marriage. They didn't say which faith, but I kind of think back. Maybe they're Muslim and Christian, maybe they were Hindu and Buddhist. I don't know. How do I know what two faiths we're dealing with? Unfortunately, the bride was Jewish. And I asked, I was like, well, which side are you Jewish? If your father's Jewish, your mother's not, I'll do the wedding, I'm not going to tell this person they're not really Jewish, but they're not really Jewish, right? According to Jewish law. So, I'm not going to hurt their feelings and tell them that, but... So... So this I always test and see, where are people coming from. So I said, they said, well, we're an older couple, so we don't have to worry about the kids being raised Jewish. We're both in our 60s. So I was like, I can't do it. I'd be defrocked, and that would mean that even legally, if it's just a civil wedding, it wouldn't be legal anymore because I wouldn't be a clergyman anymore, and it's not worth it for me, Obviously, it goes without saying. But I said, all right, so he's an older guy. I could do a quick conversion if I could find two other rabbis. Well, I don't always necessarily mean that, literally. It depends, Sometimes you meet people and you find out, actually, this person is very serious. And I've done those conversions when people are actually serious. But I offer it just as a, just to see. Most people say no, but what this woman said really blew my mind. She said, I could not imagine to ask him to convert for me because his religion is just as important to him as my religion is to me. I don't know how important. I didn't say this. I'm not going to be a jerk, but how important is your religion already if you're marrying out? I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's against the religion to marry someone with another religion. It's obviously your religion doesn't mean that much to you. It's probably better if she would convert to Catholicism. I'm honest. I don't see this push. This whole Kirov idea. Oh, we have to. I know a lot of people. I know even my own Rebbeim disagree with me, but it seems just racist to me to just force everyone to, expect everyone to be an Orthodox Jew, every Jew to be an Orthodox Jew, but then someone who's not Jewish and wants to convert, it's like, it's good enough to keep Sheva mitzvahs they know of. I mean, it doesn't seem moral, ethical, or normal. It doesn't make any sense, this whole approach that the world has with these things. But you can't fight City Hall. I don't know what to say. I mean, maybe I'm affected too much by my friendship with Usher Meza, but I'm honest. This whole Chabad racist ideology, mother's Jewish, so we're going to strap tefillin on you. I don't care if you have a guf naki or not. So they're violating the halacha of guf naki. They don't even understand what the halacha means, because Asher Meza confronted some Chabad guys about guf naki. He said, they said no, the tefillin makes the guf naki, which guf naki means it has to do with having to go to the bathroom. That's what it means. And how do you know? Someone in the street, it's not like, doesn't have to go to the bathroom in the next hour or something, and then therefore they're not allowed to put tefillin according to halacha, and there are other issues. And a Chabad rabbi told me this. Talmid Chacham, an Erlich Yid, not just Stam Shliach like the idiots that Usher was talking to in Florida. A real someone. He's a Rav, he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a Dayan, he's a Rabbi Machshir, Shoichet, a real Talmid Chacham, and still he says such a ridiculous thing. I don't care about guf naki. It's a halacha. What do you mean I don't care about it? You could say, all right, I learn it differently. I learn like Nachman Breslev, who said, that the guf naki, that there's no such, really, or like Mishnah Brewer says, as long as you try to go to the bathroom, maybe you can't go, all right, there are different shittas and what it means, the guf naki, but just say, I don't care about, to hear such a thing from someone in a Rav in a Bismedrash, Hamish people daven by his shul, and he could say such a lashon, I don't care about guf naki. Again, I respect this person, I love this person, I'm not saying he's a Russia. I'm just saying it's just a different. I have a different approach, and I understand he has a different approach. And I have a different approach, and I'm open to listen to different ideas. That's basically it. I don't know. That's what I can say. So back to this story with the Q-Anon. So I can see that certain extremist left-wing Jews will see dog whistles in this by virtue of the fact that they mentioned Jews and they mentioned Christians and Muslims in this video that I saw. Again, I don't remember exactly, and they didn't mention Jews. And there was a picture of Rothschild. And the thing is again, Rothschild does not represent the whole Jewish people. People shouldn't jump to conclusions that just because somebody, whether it's true or not, the things about the Rothschilds, obviously a lot of these, websites and stuff exaggerate some of the things about the Rothschilds. They really don't have that much power the way people think, but that doesn't mean that they're good people, and it doesn't mean that everybody who is scared of the Rothschilds is an anti-Semite. And it's a visceral reaction. Even I myself, there's someone who I respect very much. Not respect so much, but I enjoy. I'm a fan of his. And he talks mostly about UFOs and stuff and he's mentioned something about an island in Antarctica named Rothschild, and he said, there's something weird about that. And right away I was like, oh, is this guy, like in my mind I was like, oh, is this guy an anti-Semite? Like it's a natural thing to feel. It's like how Jung, it's the opposite, of Jung. Carl Jung said that he admits that, he has a visceral anti-Semitism within himself that he can't explain, even though he was a big fan of Judaism and Kabbalah and things. But he just, he was self-aware enough of himself that he recognized that he harbored certain anti-Semitic feelings that he was trying to purge himself of. And in a similar sense, I want to purge this assumption that everybody's anti-Semite. This whole idea of how people learn Esav Sin and Yaakov, it's not pshat. It's not the way it's supposed to be learned, and it's really a big problem. How people they right away turn to Esav Sin and Yaakov. Esau hates Jacob. Esau hates Jacob. Halacha he, and they're like halacha he, halacha he. I heard people shout in my face, halacha he. you know what that means? I said, so since when does Esav keep halacha? You know, that's my. I mean, I'm a bit humorous, but that's my answer. Their halotza. It's exaggerated, and really the real enemies of the Jewish people, machirvayich v'mechitzeyu. In this week's haftarah, the people who are destroying the Jewish people are coming from within the Jewish people. The Marxists, the Zionists, the Sabbateans, the Reformists, the left-wingers, the communists. All of these groups are destroying our own worst enemies. And instead of bringing out an answer, like there's just this visceral, a lot of Jewish people feel, but I'm trying to overcome it, but it's hard. But like there's this fear of anti-Semitism that's been ingrained, that this assumption that everybody hates us, which is ridiculous. And to the point, I remember some years ago there was an article about how Jews are very popular. I know a particular year Jews were very popular, and they were like, "Is this bad for the Jews? That we're so popular, and it's going to ruin us, because we're too popular or something." Just these ridiculous, neurotic, Woody Allen nonsense and then people call me an anti-Semite for bringing this up. I'm an Orthodox rabbi. I'm very proud of Judaism. It's my religion. Doesn't mean I have to hate other religions. Doesn't mean I have to have this, assumption that everyone from every other religion just hates me because I'm Jewish. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. There's no, it's damaging, to just assume that everybody hates us, and it's because we're Jewish. It leaves people in a situation where they're stuck. They can't get out of these. It's the same thing. These people who talk about institutionalized racism, and they're obsessed with institutionalized racism, right? Everything's institutionalized racism. And someone who's obsessed with that is never going to pick themselves up out of that hole, because everything's institutionalized racism, and it isn't. The world is not as bad of a place as you think it is. There's plenty of good stuff going on in the world. We don't need to be everything is racism, everything's anti-Semitism. I mean, the sickness that people have. I mean, the chutzpah. I was arguing with this someone on Twitter called herself Super Jew Girl, and she's saying, how dare I as a Jew, defend the anti-Semite? I don't even want to put those two words together. Havdalah is our great president, Donald Trump. And I said, chutzpah, disgusting, to call a man whose own daughter and son-in-law, who are his top advisors, and they're Jewish, to call him an anti-Semite? Are you crazy? Are you sick? Are you trying to... it's people like this who cause anti-Semitism. People like this who cry wolf all the time. Anti-Semitism. And these are the real problem. These Jews are the real problem. These Jews who don't have Torah. Because that's what the Gemara says like this. Our own holy Talmud says like this. That Az Sheba Umois Yisrael, the most brazen, arrogant nation on earth, is Yisrael, the Jewish people. And that's why God had to give us the Torah as an antidote for our own brazenness. And that's why, and Torah Jews also brazen, but they use it as the Azus to Kedusha. They transform their brazenness into something holy. But the secular Jews are the most destructive force on earth. I mean, they are the ones who brought Marxism to the world, And the various forms of socialism have murdered millions upon millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in the 20th century. And I would include National Socialism in as a form of socialism. It's really a left-wing movement. The Nazi movement, what Europe calls their right, is really just a variation. The European left and the American left are pretty much the same. But Europe doesn't have the equivalent of the American right. The European right is only a variation on the left, which is the same European and American left. The European left is just another prong of the same fork. The American right is so radically different that really, essentially, the only ones who really deserve the title of liberal are the American right. Although these ideas did form in Europe, but no European country ever fully accepted the full ideas of liberalism as America did. Because any country that doesn't have an official religion, or where religion isn't controlled by the government, is anti-religious, is a secular country. Like France is a essentially secular country. Whereas America is not a secular country. America is a liberal country. Liberal in the classical sense that we allow liberty when it comes to religion. Back to this QAnon and the media's attacks on QAnon and the media's attacks on Donald Trump and so forth, and their posturing and self-defense. When in the media they go and they say, how dare you say that the media is the enemy of the people? Well, can you prove to us how the media is not the enemy of the people? Because, we know that the media, the mainstream media, is the enemy of the people. They have been for 100 years. None of this is new. Donald Trump didn't invent any of this. This has been going on for a long time. And so I wanted to say something I tweeted recently, and I was about to say it, I didn't say it yet. It was a good line. To the people who claim that freedom of religion means freedom from religion, can we also say that freedom of the press means freedom from the press? And I know people are going to say that's ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is, a free press means that anybody can be a journalist. And finally, now we have the internet, and we have citizen journalists who are standing up to those who took over our freedom, took away our freedom of the press. And now, with the internet, we're getting back. And all of those people who run these websites are trying to stop us from having this freedom. So we're going to have to find other websites, But the fact of the matter is, the internet is the epitome of freedom of the press, because I'm right now expressing my views and editorializing my ideas. And I'm free to do so for now. I mean, it's a freedom that's guaranteed. It's a freedom that comes from God, really, that the government is just trying not to step in the way, as opposed to in these other countries where the government runs all of these things and doesn't allow views that they and everybody's using the same terms against each other. Like, it reminds me of like when Baruch Moshe was nifter, and so he was Satmar Rebbe, and like his two sons were fighting over. They're both now Satmar Rebbe, but like for a while they were like, no, the other one's the Sigurd Rebbe. When the fact of the matter is, like, and the other one's like, no, I'm the Satmar Rebbe, you're the Sigurd Rebbe. Not that the brothers were fighting, but that the Hasidim were fighting. The brothers really. They secretly get along. Nobody knows this, but You know, it's all, and there's a lot of wisdom in this whole approach to get people. You know, it's a beautiful aspect of the free market. You know and that's why, you know, these communities are much better now because of these disputes. Anyway, all this being said, we got freedom of the press. Oh, it does mean freedom from the press. It does mean that CNN, you are not the be-all and end-all. You're not God's gift to the world. You are what you are. And for us to criticize you is not taking away your freedom. And for the president, who is one of our fellow Americans, he's just another guy like everybody else. He's not our king. So for him, he has the same freedoms that we all have to criticize CNN and MSNBC and disagree with them. We don't need to do everything that you know, to kowtow and bow to them. They are no different. CNN is no different than you and me. No different than Fox News, no different than your local school newspaper or anything. What's going on here? I think I can get this guy. So, alright. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll talk later.